Ditching our technicalities here, let's continue with our word Europe. I'm going to replace our variable with Europe. Okay, so run again this code to have variable equals to Europe stored in your computer. Don't really need to code along the binary representation stuff. It's just some cool things that I want you to know when you are working with Python. Okay, I'm going to remove this binary representation. Let's take it out of the way. Now, a string has positional elements. It's one of the most important things about objects here in Python. Not only strings, but for example, lists also have these positional elements that we can access. For instance, if I want to access the first letter of this string, let's see how we can do that. So I write variable, and then I pass square brackets, okay? Really important point here, a thing that I want you to really understand. Of course, you'll have also the chance to practice this, but when we have curved parentheses, we are calling arguments and typically a function inside a function, or even calling just a function or a method that may take no arguments, for example. When we use square brackets or square parentheses, we are indexing objects, okay? We are doing different things. Curved brackets, we know that we are on functions, and in a functions world and methods world. Square brackets, we are on the index world, okay? So this is also one of the common mistakes to do here in Python, which is confusing what the square brackets and the curved brackets do when we work with them in Python. So how do I access the first letter? Can you guess? If you didn't work with Python before, I bet you've said 1. That's not the case. So Python indexes start on 0, okay? Another really important concept. One of the things that helped me memorize this is that Python is like an elevator. Where do elevators start? They don't start on the first floor typically. They start on the 0. They start on the ground level, which is the level 0, okay? So if you think about this analogy, maybe you'll be remembering this in no time, and it will help you to index elements a bit better. If I write variable square brackets 0, I'll access the letter E. So I have here a way to access to several letters of my word. If I use 1, I'll access the second letter, the U. Of course, this is something that's returning something. What can we do with it? We can store this in a variable. Also, this U that's being returned from the index. We can do that with no issue. So letter is equal to variable square brackets 1. And if I print the letter, I can do a print or even a return, I'll have the U, which is the second letter, index number 1. Don't forget, when we are working with these indexes, it's always the number that we have plus 1. If we want the second, we need to use index 1 and think, okay, if I'm using and in reverse, if I'm using index 1, then I'm accessing the second element, n plus 1. Okay, so I hope this was clear how we can index different elements. I can also, another test, can you guess what this will yield? Variable, square brackets, 3. It's the letter O from Europe. Why is that? Because we are accessing the fourth letter with index 3. We are going for, this is index 0, index 1, index 2, index 3. Okay, makes sense? I hope so. So let's continue. There's also another way for us to index strings, and we're starting with indexing because it's the most basic operation that we can do here with Python strings, which is using -1. Can you guess what this will yield? Let's see. It gets the last letter. So when we put the minus, we start in reverse, but notice that when we start with in reverse, we don't start on 0, we start on 1. If I put -2, I'll get the P, which is this P right here that's in the Europe string. Okay, so just know, if we don't have a minus in the index, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If we have the minus, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And to prove that, if I go here and put variable -6, I have the E in uppercase that corresponds to the first E in the Europe string. Just to be clear, first index is the index that we use without the minus, which is the index that we use normally, so the index where we start from 0, And if we want to start from the last element of the string going backwards, we use the minus sign, and in this case we start on 1. Okay? Hope this makes sense. Okay, so play around with longer words, see if you can get the specific letter that you want on strings, and then move on to the next lecture where we are going to speak about a really cool concept here on indexing strings, which is slicing. A really cool part is that everything that we are learning right here is generalizable, for instance, for lists. The indexes work all the same, although the object is different. So that will be cool when we get there. Next lecture, let's look at slicing, which will help us understand how we can select multiple elements at the same time. I'll see you there.